Super deep. Grego Salter, this one titled Rise Again, because we are changing our mindsets. We have Quentin Sanders in studio, and he's one of South Africa's leading mindset coaches. Hello, Quentin. How are you?
Hey, good on yourself.
I'm good, thank you. So, mindset coach. I'm so interested to hear about this. We've had life coach, and now we're having mindset coach. What does a mindset coach do?
So, to simplify things, a mindset coach does exactly that, works with your mind. So, it's the thoughts, the ideas, the belief systems, all of those things that create our outer world, if you want to call it that.
And how long have you been doing life coaching?
So, officially for about 2.5 years. I was in the corporate space before that for 13 years and really found coaching through my own personal development, and that led to me following a calling of taking up coaching.
That is so interesting when you say personal development. Usually, when people say personal development, it means that something happened. There's a story behind that. So, if you're comfortable, do you want to tell us the story of how you actually came into mindset coaching, and what was that breaking point for you to say, I till here and not further?
So that's actually a very good question. So that was in late 2020. Being in the corporate space and stuff like that for 13 years, I made a lot of changes. I decided to exit that space, and I actually found coaching through, like I said, my personal development. And the big shift was I made a few changes in my life. I was just repeating the same cycles, some success, and then just failing, and then some success, and continuing that. And so what led to that, I made a few changes. One of them was I stopped smoking. I was a smoker for 20 something years or whatever it was. So I stopped smoking, and yeah, so that was sort of, I was quite flabbergasted to realize that I was in the corporate space for so long and never was I introduced to this thing called coaching, right? And especially mindset coaching, which really is working with everything that creates your outer world. And as a salesperson in that space, that's super important, is your mindset in that. And it was quite strange. So when I found this, I was surprised, and that basically led me to take it up and share it. And that sharing ended up me becoming a coach and pursuing it.
That sounds amazing. So you even mentioned that you quit smoking. So that is an absolute mind shift. How do you get yourself in that correct mindset? Because you mentioned that you've never really been exposed to like mindset coaching and all of that. So how is you as an individual, how do you then change your mindset to be the first and do it for other people?
So everything actually starts with a decision.
Yes.
You've actually got to decide. And once you decide, then you start taking. So here's what we say: our results come from this. Our thoughts create our feelings. Our feelings determine the actions we take. And those actions then determine the results that we get. So if you want to change anything, we really got to go back to the beginning, which is the thoughts.
Yes.
And when we change our thoughts, then all of a sudden things almost start happening magically, where it's almost an effortless change. And that's why I say it's an internal shift, right? It's not a forceful trying to make things happen. It's a shift internally, and it starts with your thinking. When we can start changing your thinking, we can start challenging your belief systems. And when we do that, change almost happens effortlessly after that.
So it's like a whole process that you have to go through, and it's not as easy as it sounds. Like, you can say it like that, but I know there's a lot of difficulties when it comes to each individual. I want to know what have been some of your obstacles, as well as obstacles that you've noted from other people.
So the biggest thing that we usually struggle with, myself and clients, and let me say this: I work with a coach as well. So I've been fortunate to work with some of the best coaches out of America, and that.
Wow.
I still work with a business coach now, one of the top business coaches in the US. So I've seen what it's done for me, and how I've leveled up, if you want to call it that. But some of the things that has changed is just success in general, better relationships, better communication. I see this with clients, especially in the corporate space. better leadership, better sort of decision making. It's a holistic way of changing, if that makes sense. We don't just focus on one area. We focus on everything, because everything is important at the end of the day.
Yeah, no, I also think everything is important. Leave no stone unturned. So, Quentin, I also want to know from you. So, I think a lot of people in their minds, they make up their own rules. So, as a mindset coach, I want to know, what are some of the danger zones that you would say, don't focus on that, or don't let that be your motivation? Because a lot of people go into relationships and they're like, no, I need somebody to motivate me, somebody to hold me accountable. What would you say are some of the danger zones when it comes to mindset coaching?
So yeah, here's a simple thing, an exercise that you can do, and it's simply asking the question of the thoughts and thinking that you have. Is it helping me, or is it helpful or unhelpful? That's the most basic thing. When we do that, there's an awareness, because now we're starting to become aware of our thoughts and our thinking. Usually we run on autopilot. We get through the day and we don't even know where the day went.
Yeah.
So the moment we do that, then already that awareness can lead to small changes or shifts. Just being aware of what we're thinking, first of all.
So, what is right and what is wrong? Basically, I feel like that's what they teach you, like when you're younger. You just don't carry it on when you get older. I want to know also from you, Quentin, what is your approach when mindset coaching?
So the first thing I usually do is finding out exactly what the client wants to create, right? There's this concept of owner versus victim. And we first need to acknowledge that we either being a victim in the world, or we're being an owner. Either one of those two. And when we start understanding that, we start understanding that all the results that we have in life didn't happen by accident. We
Yeah.
create that. So when we understand that, that can be a difficult pill to swallow in the beginning, because you have to acknowledge that all the stuff that you're struggling with, you've created.
Yeah.
But once we have that understanding, even at a basic level, we can start going deeper, because then it becomes fun, because then we realize, if I created this, I can also create something different. And then we step into, what do you want to create in the future? What does that look like? I always say a goal is a place to come from. It's not something we achieve or reach. It's a place to come from. So you want to be a successful entrepreneur or whatever it is. What does a successful entrepreneur do? What does that look like? And let's start doing that now. So it's the other way around. You don't become successful, then start acting successful.
Yeah.
You start being, as we call, successful, and then that happens. So that's very high level.
I think the thing that really I felt like I was being shouted at is the accountability. I was like, okay. So you need to take accountability for your actions, and you need to act like the person you want to be in the future, basically.
Yeah, I would say, yeah, not act, because it's almost it's not authentic in that, but start being. So it's a much deeper understanding of that, and it's small shifts, right? So we say this: life-changing transformation always happens the same way. Is an awareness, an insight, or some people call it an aha moment, that leads to small changes over a period, leads to life-changing transformation. So when I'm coaching for the awareness, okay? And when we have that awareness, that's when the shifts happen, and that's where the insights happen. That leads us to take small steps and changes, and that, and over a period, that leads to life-changing transformation.
When you speak about over a period, how long would you say it takes? I know each individual is different, but an estimation of how long it would take for somebody to make that shift.
So here's this fun thing. You can have a shift in a 1 hour coaching session. You can have a shift that then leads to ongoing change. It doesn't mean that by after that your whole life has changed. It leads to the changes that you need to implement in that. But I usually do coaching agreements for no shorter than 4 to 6 months, because really that's the amount of time you need to at least build some momentum. But ultimately, it's again, it depends on what we're working on. But I've coached, or am coaching clients that have coached with me for 12 months. And it's not because they haven't had success, it's just because we keep growing and keep moving to the next and bigger thing. But ultimately, I don't coach really for less than 4 to 6 months.
Okay, that sounds reasonable. I also want to know from you, Quentin. You mentioned that you had a business coach or you have a business coach. What would you then say goes hand in hand with a mindset coach?
So it's quite funny because when I say a business coach, the work that we do is mindset related as well. So
Yeah.
as much as it's focused on the business side, here's something fun. Whenever I go into a corporate client or a business, or even when I'm working with an individual, the challenges always come back to a mindset. There's a mindset in the business that needs to change, or in management and CEOs, or whatever it is that leads to changes and that. So it always comes back down to what we call mindset, in some way, shape, and form. Even when we coach on relationships, there's a mindset, there's a belief system of thoughts and ideas of how things should be that creates the result, the relationships that we have. And when we change that, then our relationships almost magically change around us. It's almost an effortless kind of thing that happens.
Definitely a circle of life. I wanna know from you as well, Quentin. So I'm sure you've had a lot of challenges in life, a lot of successes. I want to know from those challenges and successes, things that you've learned from other people or things that they've learned from you. What have you implemented in your mindset coaching?
So what I've implemented in my mindset coaching, is making sure that whatever I focus on is serving me. So I'm very focused on what are you programming your mind with. When we're on YouTube and all these kind of things, what are you watching there? Because ultimately that is the programming of your mind. So if I had to say that, it's the focus on that is a major focus.
I love to hear that. Also, I want to know what has been the best advice you have been given.
The best advice I've been given, and initially when I first got given this advice by my first coach, I was like, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. But it was slow down, slowing everything down. Now, when I first heard that, I thought I wanted to speed up. I wanted to build my business faster, quicker, make more money, whatever it was. But what you realize when you understand that on a deeper level is slowing down means becoming more in the moment, right? It's that thing of stop and smell the roses, or whatever the case may be. When you slow down, you actually become more intentional, you become more focused, and you actually have better results.
Yes.
You're not running around trying to multitask. It's been proven now, multitasking, and that doesn't work. Okay. Our brains can actually only focus on one thing at a time. As much as we think we're focusing on 10 things, it doesn't actually work like that. So for me, the biggest thing, and even for my clients, this can be life changing, just as one thing, slowing everything down. Doesn't mean that you sit on your backside and do nothing. It just means you become super intentional and super focused on what's around you and what's around you at the moment right now, because that's the only moment we have, really.
Somebody actually told me this exact same thing. They said slow down because you're focusing on so many things all at once that you actually not putting your all in all of these. So do you believe in the saying, don't put all your eggs in one basket then?
Don't put all your eggs in one basket. I don't think. I think you can do multiple things, but do it one at a time.
Okay.
So you can focus on different things, but the thing is just do one at a time. If you're going to answer your emails now, get that finished, then move on. But a lot of times we try and answer the phone, try and see somebody, and we're trying to multitask. We call it an unfocused leader. Okay, and so yeah, a focused leader, you'll always see they will always make you feel like you're the only person in the world when you spend time with them. As busy as what they are, that is slowing down. They're not trying to multitask. It doesn't mean that they're not doing multiple things, but they just do it one at a time.
I love to hear that. Do it one at a time. Be focused in the moment. Quentin, one last question or second last question. Where do you think we should start, or what is the starting point for changing your mindset?
So I'm obviously going to say find a coach, because I mean
Yes.
that's natural. Finding a coach just speeds up the results that you can get, and instead of trying to do it on your own. if the next thing I would say is be super focused on what it is that you're focusing on, whether it's, YouTube or whatever the case may be aware of what you're programming your mind with, because ultimately it does affect you. So I would say those two things.
So find a coach and just look at what you are putting into your brain, because that can be harmful or it can be good to you.
Is it serving you or not serving you is the question.
Is it serving you or is it not serving you? Quinton, where can we get a hold of you if we have any questions? If we need your mindset coaching, where can we go?
So the best place is Facebook and Instagram. My handles are the same there. It's Quinton Sanders, Quinton Sanders SA. So that would probably be the best place. I've also got a website, successmastermind.co.za, so you can also go there and make contact.
Please do go make contact with Quinton. I have a message here from Enrico de la Cruz. He says, your mind is where you spend most of your time. Make sure it's a beautiful place to be in.
Wow. 100%.
Absolutely love that. Thank you so much,
Thank
Quinton,
you.
for joining us today. And I think I want to end off this interview with this song, One Step at a Time by Jordan Sparks, because they say Rome wasn't built in a day. And exactly, your mind needs to go through different changes so that you can change your life.